What up, though, people? It is your boy Brandon Dent, aka Detroit Kool-Aid, and look who I found, Mr. Jeff Iafrate, Mr. Everything, bro. How's it going?
Man, I'm happy, man. I miss you guys. I know Rod and Mike Curtis, they do a great job. But you were telling me some of the Jalen Duren comments. I was dying, man. It's so true. I mean, they're so right about that. And if you guys don't know, if you've been following the podcast, I showed up. Man, there was a day in the summer where it just wasn't it. And I'm actually an early bird. I like to be early for everything. I hate being late for stuff.
It literally is on the morning Woodward show.
Yeah, I mean, it fits. But that day, it's so like Jalen Duren, like that whole going through forgetting your passport. I get you. Although I never forgot my passport, I get it. The fact that Jalen Duren made it though to Paris, I'm excited. Look, I'm happy,
bro. They just got to make sure that they get him back.
Yeah,
don't get stuck in Paris, Jalen Duren.
Yeah,
please. Like, I don't know if they got to like tape it to him.
Right.
Put on one of the little bracelets, put the passport around his arm or something like that. Don't lose your passport this time. Now, I mean, to be fair, he did put like a little cap underneath our post. I don't know what that means, though.
Yeah, I don't know what he was referring to. Either like the reporting was incorrect or
all the slides.
I don't. Not the reporting was incorrect, but there was something missing that he put cap. I don't, because we just put James Edwards' tweet up there, and James is like the best of the best. So I don't know what the cap was for, but at least he commented. Shout out to Jalen Duren, man. I love it. He supports Woodward Pistons. He's always showing love, and one of our favorite players to talk about, really. And if he does get stuck, Killian Hayes, make some phone calls. You know what I mean? Make some phone calls, get him home.
Killian right now has to be the president of France, at least in Paris right now. He definitely has to be. It's just like he's going over there. The fanfare is about him. He has the local connection.
Yep.
The Pistons, obviously, with the record is not too hot right now. They have a connection to Victor Wembanyama, obviously with the draft and their positioning. Hey. Knock on wood, whatever we got to, man. Hopefully the Pistons, they find some luck, because if you're going to be this bad this year, you want to wind up with somebody like Vic, like Scoot. And as I've continued to study these Thompson twins. But I think that this is about Killian Hayes, man.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It is. This is his show. He says he's figured some things out. He's been playing that Cade Cunningham role where the Pistons just kind of give him the ball, let his usage go. And they rely on the fact that they know he's a good playmaker. So when he doesn't find himself really caught in too much trouble or traffic or anything of nature because of that. But I want to see him just go out there and do what I'm saying, a lot of these posters and such do, man. A lot of fans are saying they're ready to see him go out there and gun it like he's going for 50.
No, he's been, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Killian. I know there's a point early in the season where we were genuinely concerned because it's Troy Weaver's first ever draft pick. I mean, everybody was rooting for Killian, but the fact of the matter was he was struggling bad. I mean, shooting from the field, doing things that are just uncharacteristic of him, like turning the ball over, getting in foul trouble,
averaging more rebounds than points.
Yeah, it was just a lot of things that weren't adding up. But the fact that he's turned the corner, Dwayne, and I know we say this a lot, but it's so important to not lose trust in him, to give him the opportunity to start. And I have a stat here. I was looking at some numbers for Killian over the last 10 games, and this is including the Orlando game where he gave Mo Wagner that gold old forearm to the back of the head. He was ejected early. But moving on, despite that,
different guy since then.
The last 10 games, he's averaging 14, 3, and 7, 3 rebounds, 7.4 assists. And on top of that, the most impressive stat to me, 2 things. One, the field goal attempts, which he's at about 12. Love seeing him take a lot of shots. I mean, 12 shots per game. The last couple of games, he's giving you 14, 10, 14. Like he's being aggressive. He's staying aggressive, which I love to see. But more than that, his efficiency behind the arc, which is so important because he had like historic numbers. I remember me and Sean talking about it, and me and you even talking about it. There was a stretch in the season where he was like 2 for 18 from 3, something like that. It was horrendous.
Terrible, man.
But now look at him over the last 10 games. He's shooting almost 40% from 3 on 5 attempts.
Say that again, brother. One more time.
40% from 3, technically 39.6. on 4.8 attempts. We'll just round them both up. 40 on 5 attempts. And you know what else he's given you? Something we've known him to be, which is a good defender. He's giving you almost 2 steals a game, which is like, I mean, so Killian Hayes is confidence level all across his game defensively, because it really starts offensively, because once you're feeling yourself offensively, that confidence kind of translates defensively. And Killian Hayes, as complete of a player as he is, kind of filling in for that Cade Cunningham role, he's been excellent. And I think Paris, I'm excited for him because you're facing the Bulls. He's at home technically. I know he grew up in Lakeland, but still originally from Paris.
Yeah, still has the accent.
Still has the accent, and still, I just love it. I mean, you see that picture of Dwayne with Cade and Killian.
Yep.
It's like his sons, man.
Yeah.
Just in Paris, they're
so
at the Eiffel
proud,
Tower.
man.
I
He's
know.
like,
And that's what I love. I mean, although the season has been a struggle, I think those things are what matters. That the culture is still there. Players love. I mean, it's a family environment.
Right.
When you see things like Eric Gordon, I know I talked about this last podcast, but coming
Preach
out and saying, "How's the progress looking, Eric?" And he just goes, "There ain't no progress. Nothing's going on." And the Rockets are the worst team in the league.
That has KPJ, Jalen Green, and Jabari Smith on it. What are we among other good young talented players?
Yeah.
What are we talking about? You can legitimately say with a young team that there's no progress.
Healthy.
Yeah,
majority healthy.
Meanwhile, the Detroit Pistons young players have been thrusted into roles that we did not foresee them being in this year because of all of the injuries. Who knew that Cade Cunningham wasn't going to be here this year? Who knew that Killian Hayes was going to get off to a horrible start to the season? That put Jaden Ivey in a position to, honestly, when we sat here and said, can he be a 15-5-5 guy to start the season? People said no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we thought he could potentially get there. We thought, you know, just based on the way that he plays and whatnot, it would be an interesting ride if he could answer a few questions. And honestly, he's been answering that bell. His last 10 to 15 game stats have been even more impressive, I think, than Killian Hayes'. And these guys are proving, and they're answering the question, they can shoot the rock. They can shoot the rock. Like the team over the last 10 to 15 games is shooting like 40% from three.
Yeah, and in that bench too. I mean, even with the loss of Marvin Bagley, I believe it was his wrist, right? He injured. He's going to be out for the unforeseeable future, probably a couple weeks or so, maybe longer than that. But still, the benefit of having a good bench is even without Marvin Bagley, you still have a ton of talent on your bench. Like I know guys are playing. Like Hamidou Diallo to me has been one of the surprising things. I know he has talent, but to see him playing well, playing efficient, which is a big thing, that's been great. And on top of that, man, one of my favorite players on this team is Alec Burks. Yep. I love Alec Burks. That's a guy that I don't want Troy to trade. I think that's a great piece. He's 30. He can shoot, consistent. He brings that veteran leadership especially for the young guards. But he's Mr. Consistent. Like he had a stretch of games a couple weeks ago. I believe it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago where he missed like 2 or 3 shots in a handful of games. Like he had the night where he was perfect and he fouled it up. He shot well again. Like Alec Burks to me in this bench has been a huge part. Getting to the free throw line, he's been amazing. Sadiq Bey adjusting to that role off the bench, getting Livers finally back and playing. Like there's still a ton of young talent to watch. Although they aren't winning games, it's still I love watching these young guys.
Yeah, Livers has been impressive. The thing that I've loved about him is seeing his defense kind of snap into place right away.
Yeah.
But his 3-point shooting is starting to come around as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to see out of Isaiah Livers is could he at the very least be a foundational 3-and-D type player, whether that's off the bench or with the ability to start. And we see with the shorthanded Pistons, they found a way to kind of get him into that starting lineup, and he's found ways to be versatile, really defending the 1 through the 5. Not as effective at guarding the 1 and the 5, but showing in pinches he can do that. And it's been cool to see because this team, they got to know who they are. They got to know what they have going into next season. There's a lot of decisions to make. Some of the chief of those, and this one I want to get your perspective on as well, is what do they do with the trade deadline?
Yeah.
Rod, Mike, they don't believe that the offers are there, you know, from opposing teams for Sadiq Bey, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Alec Burks because of the level of production we've seen out of all of them. We've seen now Sadiq Bey and Bojan be able to work better together as of late, which has been awesome. These guys both hitting a lot of threes. Alec Burks and Sadiq Bey hitting a lot of threes in games, being the reasons why at least one of the few wins we've had, recently was because of Sadiq Bey and Alec Burks just kind of teeing off on each wing and being able to kind of pass around this utilization thing. And furthermore, with Sadiq Bey, they feel like they've unlocked something. They feel like with this whole catch and shoot Sadiq Bey, that this is putting him in his best position to succeed. And you've seen his 3-point percentage skyrocket. And I think that it plays off of what we talked about before. What I see out of Sadiq Bey when he comes into the gym, at least pregame, catch and shoot, and he's not missing. And I know we see other people and players do this, but Sadiq Bey seems to do it at a higher clip of just going without missing, especially from the corners. So it was a little shocking, but not surprising, I guess.
Right.
When Dwayne Casey said that Sadiq Bey is shooting 50% from the corners on catch and shoot opportunities.
And we know how hot he can get. I mean, he's
in fuego from his hot zones. It's crazy. So, with Sadiq Bey, I don't think that the Pistons are quick to trade him. Obviously, if the 3-point shooting is not there, it looks like he's struggling a lot. But he's just improved so much on his game, especially within getting to the free throw line, playing in the intermediary, and with Burks. I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. There's so much that just comes to my mind as it relates to why I want Burks on this squad. But I think the most important thing to me is if you've looked at Jaden Ivey over the last 5 games, he's attempting more mid-range shots. His offense is to one now where he's shooting jumpers, floaters, long hook shots and things of that nature when he's getting into the paint, rather than getting all the way in and coming away with a turnover. And he mentioned, we talked about this as well, that Alec Burks was somebody he was specifically working with on the mid-range, on trying to improve and get better. We know that that's something he needs to do to take that next step.
Yeah, and that's something I harped on. We talked about it for a while, and I brought up Ja. Like, the difference is you don't need a superb mid-range shot, but what you need is you need to be a threat. And for Ivy to develop a floater like for Morant, as explosive as he is, and these two, that's where they're similar. Their explosive speed. If Ja Morant's coming at you full speed, you have no choice but to backpedal. Like, you have to backpedal, or else he's going to baptize you, and you got to be ready. But as guys backpedal, as guys backpedal, like Ivy, I believe he's trending that way. He's going to be a guy who's a threat to posterize you. But the threat of having that floater, now you're kind of hesitating, because instead of saying this guy is either taking a 3 or he's driving to the rim, he's more predictable. It's like, okay, I'm going full speed, stop quickly, pull up, or I have that floater in my game. You can get easy buckets. I mean, he's so athletic. Guys are going to be on their back feet all the time against him. So we mentioned it. That was the part of his game that needed to kind of take the next step, because he's not a great 3-point shooter right now. I don't know if he can develop and become better, but having a floater, you don't need a mid-range, a D-Wade, Kobe-esque mid-range, but you got to be a threat to some extent. So I'm glad Ivy's put that in his game, man. I think doing that at a high level will take him to that next level in terms of his scoring ability, because we know how athletic he is. Like, he can get to his spots. He just has to have the game slow down for him a little bit, so he kind of knows when to pick and choose. And he's starting to do that. Shot selection, I think, is still one of those things you always look at with rookies, but kind of finding the right spots for you, getting comfortable, and knowing, like Alec Burks he's been in this league for a while. Like, he's had that opportunity. He kind of knows how this goes. Ivy's, he's still in that stage, and for Burks to be working with him, it gives me even more like confidence that I want him back. It kind of already echoes what I've been saying. The only player that I think will be, has a threat of being traded, I think Sadiq will be maybe shopped. Maybe guys are calling about Sadiq. It's got to be Bojan. And I get why people would want him back. I'm not going to, I think you have a good argument. Like, hey, we at some point we got to stop getting rid of good players. Like, I get that. But at the same time, sometimes you got to capitalize on the value that guys have right now. Like, he's 34 years old. I believe it's either one of the two. I have to double check. He's either 33 turning 34 in April, or he's 34 turning 35 in April. I have to fact check that if you could for me.
Yeah, I got you.
But either way, you don't know if Bojan can play at this level moving forward. His value, 34. Thank you for that. But his value is at an all-time high. Now, could Bojan play a different role and come off the bench? Yeah, he could. But you don't know. There's still plenty of moves. His team has a lot of work to do in finding, they have a ton of money freed. They have assets in the draft. Like, this team isn't complete yet. And if you can get maybe a first-round pick, I know the asking price, I don't know exactly. You talked to Rod and Mike, but wasn't it like a first-round pick and then some? They want more assets. And if you can get that
solid first-round pick where they know, this is a lottery.
Right. Like and I'm never gonna shy away from Troy getting a first-round pick. We know what he's been able to do in the past with that. Yep. I don't think that's a bad thing. And you never know if you get a first-round pick and you can use that in a trade to go get an even better player. There's so many moves that could be on the horizon with simply just trading Bojan and getting assets. I think people look at it like more upfront. Like, I don't want to trade Bojan for a first-round pick, but what if you trade Bojan, who's about to be 34, for a first-round pick and some assets, and then you flip that into a really good player? Nobody would remember Bojan being traded. You'd be happy about getting this player. So I'm not going to say, I fully expect Bojan to be back. I wouldn't be shocked, But that's kind of the player that I would probably be paying attention to the most because you already seen reports, multiple contenders interested in him. Like, who wouldn't be? The guy's a stud. He really is.
He can step into any offense, and like we've consistently said on this
Yeah.
show,
Yep.
instant offense. You don't have to work him in. You don't have to figure him out. Like
Right.
these other players, you might. So yeah, he's the one that. And you said something very interesting here. We started with Alec Burks and the fact that you want him here. Bojan Bogdanovic, if he's going to be here long term, we know that during the winning years, where is he going to be? Off the bench. But who's there right now who's absolutely proven a lot more than any of us thought?
Yeah.
That's Alec Burks.
Right.
If Alec Burks continues this level of consistency, this level of play, it does make it a little bit easier to part with the Bojan Bogdanovic. When they first signed him to the extension and they were talking about, yo, he's here, he works well with Cade.
Right.
They didn't have Alec Burks playing at that time and not playing this way either. Now that they have him, if you're talking about a bench role and you're already slotting at least Sadiq Bey and Alec Burks off the bench, potentially in a long-term thing, where does that leave Bojan? It's either starting or bolster the team through a trade, which I would be fine with either. Obviously, we said this last year with Jeremy Grant. No matter which way Troy Weaver decides to go, we know that this team is going to get better.
Yep.
We know that he likes Bojan like he liked Jeremy Grant. But at the end of the day, if you can go out there and get a haul the way that Troy Weaver did the last time he did a deal like this, it wound up becoming plus 7 or 8 players. If you want to include the cap space that came by trading Jeremy Grant to be able to even sign Bojan Bogdanovic, along with all the players from the Knicks plus Jalen Duren. Shout out Kemba Walker too, by the way. I heard he's going overseas. I don't know why he scoffed at the chance to play with the Detroit Pistons. I have no idea why. But good luck to you, brother.
Yeah, good luck to you. Now he's looking for a job. But to your point too, don't forget what Troy got Bojan for. Like, you got to think about that. Like, it's not like you gave up Saban Lee and Kelly Olynyk. Like, think about that for a second. And you got Bogdanovic, who's a 20-point scorer. And the also point I would add in that as well is, when do you think the Pistons will be a legitimate, maybe not, well, I guess if you're in the playoffs, you're contending technically. So when do you think the Pistons will contend? I would say probably 2 more years. If I had to be confident, maybe next season's play in, and then that next season is like, all right, let's make the playoffs. Bojan will be 36 years old. So, like, we're not on a timeline of win now. That's my issue with Bojan. Like, Alec Burks, if he's here for 2 more years, he'll be, 32? Yeah. He'll still have some ball left in him. That's kind of my concern with Bojan, is I love the player. I'd be okay if he stayed. But if a guy's coming off your bench at 36 years old, he's not great defensively. He's a great shooter. Absolutely he is. But at 36 years old, paying him, 16, 17, whatever he's making, $1 million per year, that's a tough sell. So, and I don't know how Bojan's game is going to age. He could still be a great player, but that's kind of how I'm looking at it, is, does he fit the Pistons timeline? Because with Grant, he was much younger. So we at least had that argument. Now, the fit, that was a concern. Did you want to pay him the money? That's also a concern. But Bojan's under contract. I don't know how Troy's looking at it. He's a player that brings a ton of experience, a ton of veteran leadership. But, in 2 years, when you're trying to make some noise, or next season, maybe you want him a part of that playoff run. I don't know, but I'm just kind of throwing these ideas out there on how maybe Troy's thinking about this.
It's a good situation to be in. And this is what we like about Troy Weaver, is that he's going to continue to stack the deck for himself. That's what you want. And for the benefit of this team, so that he can sit back and make whatever deals that he wants. And this time he's stacking the assets before he's having to work with Josh Jackson,
right?
Trey Lyles, Kelly Olynyk, Saban Lee. Nothing against those guys, because when they were here, we understood, we rooted for them. We got to see them kind of, obviously not as close to the trenches as possible, but as much as we got to see, we knew these guys wanted to be here, wanted to win. Josh Jackson, he wanted to put on for Detroit, but if that's what Troy Weaver was able to help facilitate with players like that, what is he going to be able to do now that the players he's trading or that teams are calling about are Sadiq Bey, Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, things of that nature? That's why I believe Troy Weaver is holding and going to stick to his guns. He set the price tag for Jeremy Grant last year. It should be the same this year. Anything less than that, I believe it puts the Pistons, it sets them back. It just does. And that's something that Troy Weaver vowed he was not going to do. He said, irregardless of what they do, fast or slow pace, they're still going to progress forward. And so, it's interesting when you look at it all. I know Mike and Rod, they're not going to be surprised if there's a deal. If there's a deal, they like you believe it'd be more Bojan than Burks or Sadiq Bey. That's kind of all of our premise, all of our feelings. It just makes the most sense age wise, window wise, of opportunity to
And
win.
interest wise, like Bojan's
Yeah.
he's probably the most intriguing player that's been publicly announced on the trade market right now.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yep. It's got to be. And I think the only thing left with the Bojan thing is if he's traded, is it now or is it at the draft deadline?
And I think that's where people gets a little misconstrued because I don't really think it matters, to be honest with you. Like this feels like a deja vu with Jeremy Grant. Remember we had this conversation, should they trade him at the deadline? And I believe you, Sean, we were all kind of on the same mindset of like, guys, just because you don't trade him at the deadline does not mean you cannot trade him. Like that you can still get a deal. And the deal was still there for Jeremy Grant come the summer. So I'm not concerned about the trade deadline. I'm really not. I mean, unless Troy's looking at this like, hey, maybe Bojan gives us a couple more wins and we want to get rid of him to completely stink for the best pick possible. Okay. But if not, I don't think it ruins Bojan's value. I think teams are going to kind of know where they're at in the summertime and know, are we a Bojan away from being a legitimate contender? Or do teams feel like, hey, this is our window, we got to get him this season? Maybe they offer Troy a deal he cannot refuse. I don't know. I think it just comes down to what offer Troy thinks is he deems the best, or a deal that he doesn't want to pass up. And I think he can get that at any time, even before the draft, maybe.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of the narrative last year. We got Jalen Duren because of it.
Yeah, we did. Jalen Duren, Alec Burks, Kevin Knox.
Yep.
Players that are contributing. Obviously we want to get Jalen Duren back. I guess he's supposed to play. I don't know exactly just yet. I hope he is. I would
love to see Duren and Andre Drummond again.
I want to
go back, man. I love playing the Bulls.
I want to see that. I definitely want to. I saw Drummond and Stu, man. They did a signing together, which was pretty cool to see. Drummond was showing mad love to Detroit. Obviously, they're in Paris, the city of love. So it was cool to see him showing love. He was on his Instagram live doing a signing, and someone walked up with the classic Pistons jersey. And he was like, yo, and you could just see him. He's like, oh, yo, this is the classic. Because everything up to that point was like Bulls merchandise. And he looked at it, and I put the picture up online. He looks into the screen like, yo, this is the classic right here. Yo, this means so much. And just to think about all the overtures and all the love that he's been kind of sending to Detroit over just the last year, showing that he's matured, showing that he knows that it's been on him, that he didn't progress the way that he should have, and that the failures that the organization went through, it wasn't all on him.
Right.
But he understands why he was and why he's going to always have the target on him for that era. He was the highest paid. He was the best player. He's one of the highest drafted players that they had during that time.
Mm-hmm.
But he stated he would love to be able to close that chapter, on this book, one day, be able to come back here and right those wrongs, man.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Would you like to see him back here one day? And what do you think about all of the love from Andre Drummond?
I number one, I'll start with this. I don't mind all the love to Andre, man. I got a lot of respect for him. I give him a lot of credit. I think Detroit Pistons fans, and they would even admit to a certain extent that we were hard on Andre Drummond. I mean, we really were, and it's because of the expectations. We knew how we know the talent, we knew the upside, we knew how good he could be and how good he was, but there's always something missing with Andre, and I think fans could see that. And, whether it was his mindset, his approach, whatever it may be, I think fans, he had a very short fuse, fans had a lot of very short fuse with Andre. It was very like, pretty much every game you go on Twitter and it was criticizing Andre for different reasons. So I give him a lot of credit for just dealing with all that. But still, like you said, he was the first player. Essentially, he was kind of the start of that era. Like you get Andre and he's like your friend. It's kind of like the Killian Hayes, but except Killian, it'd be like if Killian was very productive, because Andre was productive.
Yep.
I think that's what people forget. He was a good player. There was just always something missing with him. And the fact that he leaves, he's on a couple different teams. And when players go through that, I think that's a time for them to reflect and kind of think about things. And I do think Andre's learned a lot from his experiences now. And he's maybe he's in a much different place than he was when he was in Detroit mentally, which is a great thing. So as someone who covers the Pistons, like I would welcome him back. I think, for me, it would be a couple things. Number one, contractually, it's got to be the right fit. I mean, I'm not saying if it's like, if it's a cheap deal, great. I would love Andre. I think coming off the bench, kind of basically be our Nerlens Noel, to be there. Maybe he plays minutes off the bench. I wouldn't mind that at all. I think, I would always welcome back Andre. I think it's really up to him How does he approach the
Hey,
situation?
no
Is he just
three-pointers, though.
Thank you. I think the big part of it for Andre is just being like self-aware enough to be like, you know what? What do you guys need of me? What do you guys ask of me? And that's got to be the most important thing. I don't need Andre walking up, shooting threes, dribbling the ball, taking it up half court. I don't need none of that. I just need Andre to play the role the best of his ability. And if he does that, I wouldn't mind it. I really wouldn't.
Even at this stage, the question is this, and I don't even think we can really answer it yet. Who is Andre Drummond if he focused all of his attention on defense? A guy who, for his career, has continuously averaged over 3 stocks a game, steals and blocks. The best big man at doing that in the league for a long period of time. Who is Andre Drummond if he says, I want to rim protect? I'm the biggest guy out here. The same thing we talked about with Jalen Duren. By the time Andre Drummond realized he was a big boy, he continued to kind of go down this walk of finesse. And it was just like, bro, go the opposite way. What happened to all of the Rasheed Wallace dunk everything stuff?
And a lot of that too was that comparisons. It was the comparisons to Embiid too. Not that he was Embiid, but you saw Embiid doing all of that.
That's right. The era
Embiid was doing all that. That's the era he was in. And then you had Embiid and him going at it. And he's looking at Embiid like, how the hell can this dude do all that?
You're right.
Why can't I do that? And at the same time, it's not like that's why I appreciate Jalen Duren so much because I'm not saying he can't develop his game, but he plays within his own strengths. It's like, hey, I'm athletic. I'm big. I got a big wingspan. I'm great defensively. And when you're playing with great playmakers, you're going to get 10, 12, 14 points just off lobs, putbacks, running the floor. Like there's so many opportunities. Like you don't need to give me Embiid numbers. You just don't. Unless,
especially not now.
Yeah, you don't. Now, would I love it? Absolutely. But if that's not your game, it's not your game. And I love that Jalen Duren kind of just plays within his role and he just excels at it. And maybe Andre watches that from a distance and he's like, oh, look at my man Duren over there, living up to his role, playing great basketball, and fans love him.
Look, man, everybody wants to see the 3-guard rotation of Killian, KJ, and Ivy. Let's get Drummond in here so I can see Duren, Drummond, and Stewart. Yeah, Stewart at the 3. Let's rock.
I don't need Isaiah Stewart doing crossovers now. He literally. I think Stu, and that's the difference, I think. It's funny you brought that up because I think like Stu has gave me so much confidence. He could say, I'm playing the 2-guard, and I'd be like, okay. Like, I'm going to let him figure it out. Because he's been a guy that's been able to adjust it and play different roles, and he's such a hard worker that if he says he's doing something.
No complaints either, man.
Like, hey, I'm going to start shooting threes this year. Okay, here's 35% from 3. It's like, okay, one season. Like, I'm never going to count out Isaiah Stewart. He could tell me anything. I'll be like, all right. I'm gonna stick with you until proven otherwise.
I like it, man. I think, is there anything else?
No, man, I'm excited. They play tomorrow. They're in Paris. And I'm just as much as disappointed I've been or frustrated. I don't know about disappointed. I shouldn't say that. Frustrated. Losing games. I should say I haven't been disappointed with the players and how they've been trending.
I think didn't anticipate what it would look like if the wheels fell off.
You didn't know. You don't know till you know. And you're seeing it now without Cade. It's we said 30 wins with Cade. So the fact that they're on pace to win 20-something games, it's like, are we that shocked? Probably not. But again, future's still bright. I'm excited, and we're going to be covering the draft, free agency, a lot. So a lot of big things planned despite how the season's going. So I'm excited.
Big things planned, actually, including, bro. We might be doing some stuff from LCA as well.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
We might be doing some stuff from there.
The place has been electric this year, even despite how bad they've been.
I think top 10 in attendance,
which is unreal for LCA. I mean, that's huge for the city. I mean, you got the Lions, the Red Wings, all these teams are kind of slowly taking steps. Pistons, even with the disappointing numbers, man, fans are loyal. They got great fans, man. They really do. It's
interesting because, obviously let me see where they're at here. The Pistons, number 11. So
who's behind them? Name some of the teams behind them.
Ooh.
Like good record teams. Like
you talking about some of these fair weather fans, some of these non-real fans, like the Lakers. They're behind the Pistons.
Yeah.
You mean like the Jazz, Warriors, Nets, Spurs, Bucks, Hawks, Magic.
That Grizzlies. Bucks one is surprising.
Bro, like I'm gonna just keep reading. Hornets, Clippers, Suns,
wow.
Kings, Wizards, Pelicans, the Rockets. Houston don't love basketball. Timberwolves, Thunder, and the Pacers. What?
Detroit, man.
Shout out to you guys. You guys did say you would support a rebuild, a real rebuild. And I know that a lot of us that are zoomed in, a lot of the guys that are zoomed in, a lot of the fans that are zoomed in, a lot of times it gets something that you, like you said, it gets frustrating to watch. It gets frustrating to deal with. And then you get like the hyper fans who would just like tear it all down to the ground. And sometimes, like Rod told us, sometimes that's all you see. They wind up becoming the vocal people.
Yep.
But the fans that are showing up, they're voting with their wallet, man. They're voting with their attendance, and they're showing up and supporting. And honestly, being there at the games, and I'll close on this too, being there at the games, interacting with the fans, man, hearing people talk about Woodward sports, hearing people talk about Woodward Pistons, hearing people talk about the Detroit Pistons, it's an awesome thing to see. I didn't anticipate that. I thought if it's going to be down, attendance will be down.
Right.
I know when I spent some time in Charlotte, and I went to a Hornets game, a couple of them, during like a year that I lived down there. Man, they were horrible, and the attendance was horrible. I'm talking about security didn't care. You could walk down from the nose.
Was that Hornets or Bobcats?
It was Hornets at that time.
Okay,
they had just
say that was a different type of bad. Over there.
It was Hornets.
Okay,
it was Hornets. It was right after they changed.
Got you.
And everyone thought they were going to be dope, and then it was just like they're still horrible. And I remember just being there, like, yo, this is horrible. So when they announced this move to LCA, everyone's like, their fan base is not there.
Right.
There's no fan base there, and I'm just like, oh. I remember seeing people pack Shane Park to watch the Pistons play in the playoffs. I remember people packing restaurants and all over. Just it was an awesome experience when the Pistons were in the playoffs during that 2004 run and 2005 to see fans all over the city. And so now that they're here to see fans really, really getting it in, man, it's awesome, man.
Dude, and I got to say, too, number one, without the fans, we're nothing. So the people are the greatest, man. The city of Detroit. I mean, we got a lot of loyal Pistons fans, great people. We've been on LCA a handful of times. You're there all the time, and you know how it is, too. I went to a handful of games, and a couple of those were victories. I had a couple of losses. I left notoriously in that Clippers comeback, which was a hilarious story. But even in the wins, man, despite the record, walking out of that arena with everybody else, you just hear the enthusiasm and the everybody had a great time in LCA. Like, they do a great job over there. They really do. We've talked to some of the PR people. Like, the Pistons organization, I mean, there's a lot of NBA organizations, man, where you look around and they're sketchy. They got bad people, bad just people you don't want to have relationships with in organizations. The Pistons got great people. They do. Like, I would rather cover the Pistons than cover the Suns right now. I'll tell you that much, man. I really would.
Talk about it.
So shout out to those people, man. They've hooked us up. They've gave us a ton of opportunities, and we're just blessed to be able to cover a great organization like Pistons. Man, Pistons Army, Pistons fans, this team right now, it's exciting.
Culture, man.
I'm really excited. I really am.
Also, shout out to Rare Access. They're doing a lot right now to increase fans and their interaction and their ability to be able to have a greater relationship with the Pistons organization, both through merch, through NFTs, through meetups, through virtual experiences, and more. Tickets, everything. They're trying to make sure they take the most dedicated fans and put them in the driver's seat with their connection to the Detroit
Genius,
Pistons.
man.
So it is. And Woodward Pistons, listen, we're going to be a hub. We're going to be a hub.
Yeah.
So check our page, check all the socials. We're going to continue to retweet everything that they put out there. Woodward Pistons, we were featured in the first AMA that they had.
Yep.
So we're going to be there to try and make sure that fans get the best experience as well. And I think our first live stream that we're going to do from LCA, we're going to have the Rare Access representatives on as well.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be awesome.
And we got some stuff in the summer too, by the way. Hoop sessions, that's coming back. I mean, we went last year and we had some people come out. Eric Vincent was there. Shout out to him, man. My guy Eric, he's the man, dude. Mike was out there, so we'll have some locations. I want to do some
Gentry.
more.
Shout out Mike Gentry.
Yes, Michael Gentry. He's down at LCA too, covering the Red Wings. By the way, check out his stuff.
Shout out Jeff and Gentry down there.
Jeff and Gentry over there as well. But no, we got so much stuff planned, man. People want to stay tuned. Woodward Pistons by fans for fans. It really is.
Shout out Sean Murphy as well.
Yeah.
He's starting to lead out this e-gaming, esports, and everything. And I know he has some leagues that he wants to get going as well.
Yep.
Who's trying to get smacked in 2K and Madden? Let me know.
Me and Sean always talk trash because we think we're both the best at 2K, but we never play 2K because one reason, and people, if you play 2K, you get where I'm coming from. Playing online 2K stinks. It's delayed. Like if you have two people that are alphas in 2K, you got to square up on LAN.
You
got to square up on LAN.
Hold up.
You can't be facing each other online. You can't.
So you guys just heard what he said, right? You guys just heard what he said. So at Imagine Theater, when we do this watch party,
there's gonna be some smoke.
You versus Sean, bro.
There's gonna be some smoke.
I'm so serious. You versus Sean for the pregame before the Pistons game comes on. We're watching 2K. We got to set this up. If not there, and right here in the studio.
I'm
man.
already in training camp right now.
We got to do this. Sean, get ready, bro. Woodward Pistons. We
Oh.
got to make this happen. This has to happen.
Oh, it will.
This has to
It
happen.
will.
That'll
It
be
will.
fun. That'll be really, really fun.
Yeah. Not from half court, from Imagine. That's what it's going to be called. From Imagine Theaters, man. I can't wait.
I like that, man. Shout out from half court. Shout out Sean Murphy. Please
Check
go
it
there,
out.
support everything that they're doing. It's a lot. I love the upgrade too, man. I like the new thumbnails. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah. Naranjan's been doing a fantastic job, man. He's so talented. He really is. And Prod Designs, like we have there's a lot of talented people within the Pistons community. It really is, man. I love it. Wouldn't change it.
All right, look, man. I think that's a wrap. And you know what? Just because you're here, let's do this drum roll for Rod.
Mr. Rod.
Hey, yo. Shout out to the legend Detroit News Rod Beard. This is Woodward Pistons Trends. Till next time, you all.